In a few days, NYPD hero Michael McMahon is due to report to federal prison. He committed no crime.
There could be no more heinous betrayal of American values than to use the law to terrorize the innocent and reward the wicked. They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. It's very simple. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. They want you silent.
There's a quiet war happening here in the United States, where heroes find themselves in the crosshairs of the institutions they once trusted to protect and serve. From surveillance to silencing, the federal government has used their power not to protect the people, but to control them.
They spied on my campaign, launched one hoax and disinformation operation after another, broke the law on a colossal scale, persecuted my family, staff, and supporters, raided my home, Mar-a-Lago, and did everything within their power to prevent me from becoming the President of the United States. But in the end, the thugs failed and the truth won. Our predecessors turned this Department of Justice into the Department of Injustice. But I stand before you today to declare that those days are over and they are never going to come back. Under the Trump administration, the DOJ and the FBI will once again become the premier crime-fighting agencies on the face of the earth.
Well, that was President Trump accusing the DOJ of weaponizing the law to punish the innocent and protect the powerful. Now, if people start to believe the courts are being used for political payback, trust in the entire system collapses. My next guest, Mike McMahon, a decorated NYPD cop with 78 medals, a devoted dad and husband who spent over 14 years protecting the streets of New York. After he retired, Mike became a private investigator, a job thousands of people do legally every day. So how does a man like Mike go from hero to federal convict? How does someone with that kind of service end up accused of spying for the Chinese government?
I conducted legal PI work, private investigation work in New Jersey. And then 4 years later, in 2020, the FBI came to my house and they arrested me for working for the Chinese government.
I know someone that is as decorated as Michael is here. That doesn't come easy. That is a distinguished career. And there's something wrong here. And I want to get to the bottom of this. My next guest spent 23 years inside the FBI, 20 of those focused on Chinese counterintelligence. This is his first national interview, and he's breaking his silence tonight. So I want you to welcome retired FBI agent Kevin Hecht.
This whole situation does not fit any MO of how the Chinese government, how the Chinese intelligence services, or how the Chinese law enforcement services work. I don't know of any circumstances in my career where they used an American Caucasian citizen to further their activities.
How could he have smoked this out to realize that this wasn't a routine engagement? China
knew they were breaking U.S. law. They wanted as few people as possible to know what they were doing. And I think the last thing that they wanted to have was an NYPD decorated officer knowing that they were operating unlawfully. So I think it would be very difficult to smoke out.
Congressman Sessions, thank you so much for taking time to talk about this. What's going on here? This thing just stinks to high heaven to me.
I think it's important for us to note that Michael is not the first person. I'm aware of at least 10 specific investigations that the Department of Justice led where they bled out people even though they had nothing to charge them with. It is important that the American people trust the Federal Bureau of Investigation. My father was the 4th director of the FBI. We did not see where Michael entrapped himself. There are not conversations about this. There were not documents about this. He was straightforward from the beginning. they have to prove intent to get a conviction. And I believe that he, in essence, was taken advantage of.
So they convinced a jury that my legal surveillance was stalking. The alleged victims testified that I was not following them.
The defense, have you ever met McMahon before? No. Defense, have you ever seen him before? No. So you're not a very good stalker. But his wife, Martha Burns, says this case was never about China. She says her husband was targeted, the evidence twisted, and the truth buried.
So I started putting the pieces together and starting looking into more about this case. And it turned out the subject he was following had a $30 million civil lawsuit against him in New Jersey. He was a Wuhan official who had fled here. He was not a dissident. There was so much about the subject that I finally could learn after his arrest in 2020.
The fugitives that Mike uncovered in New Jersey weren't just anyone. They were Chinese officials tied to Wuhan, protected by the FBI, with a suspiciously long list of donations to the Hillary Clinton Foundation. The real question, who did Mike find that he wasn't supposed to? And why is the Biden administration shielding foreign criminals instead of protecting Americans?
When an agenda is being run other than the law, people can get caught up in a machinery that can be very dangerous. And when politics get into prosecution, when convictions become the goal instead of justice, we can get out of control in a fast hurry. And we've got to have a return to justice. And I don't think justice is being served here. And I think everybody that sees this should be outraged.
I feel betrayed by my country. I feel betrayed by the Newark FBI office.
Mike served New York with honor. Now he's days away from prison.
We will not allow that to happen. It will not happen again. Under my leadership, we will restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law.
Once again, our justice system has failed the American people. We're down to the final moments before Michael McMahon loses his freedom. Thank you for your attention to this matter.